Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Mondays. This is episode 51 and today guys I have an extremely exciting announcement to make. The Mordian 50th Rifles are marching to war. What do I mean by this guys? So over the weekend, Winter's SEO, one of the biggest and best YouTube battle report people out there and absolute living legend, threw down the gauntlet to the internet. He said, you know, people like Chapter Master Valrak and Lucian have been challenging people. And you know what? He was going to start challenging people too. And so he threw down the gauntlet. And he said, he said the biggies. He said, Lucian 09, Midwinter Minis, Chapter Master Valrak, I'm calling you out. But he also said, anyone else who thinks they've got the cojones to take him on in a battle report, he's willing to accept any and all challenges. You know what I said? I said, I reckon the Mordian Iron Guard should be at that battle. I reckon the Imperial Guard should be represented. Got all these Marine boys going on. Got to have the Iron Guard represented. Got to have the Emperor's true finest, the Imperial Guard, at that stage. So I did a Facebook post. I did an Instagram post. I did a YouTube video. I rallied the troops, the alarms, the calls for aid went out across the segmentum. The beacons were lit. And I said, all able-bodied guardsmen, go over to the YouTube channel. Go over to the Winter's SEO channel. Go to that video and say you want to see the Mordian Glory channel happen. And you know what, guys? You are all absolute legends. You're all awesome because you turned out in droves. Hundreds and hundreds of people went to the Winter's SEO video and upvoted the comment that I had left on there and left supporting comments to it. And I think as where it stands now, we're creeping up to 300 likes on that video, on that comment on Winter's video. And that kind of attention just can't be ignored. That kind of rallying call, that kind of just display of sheer awesomeness by the Imperial Guard community cannot and will not be denied. And the great man himself, Winter's SEO, came over to our little corner of the internet, guys, the Mordian Glory community, and he threw down and he went, you know what, I'm interested. And we've had a little bit of a barney. We've exchanged emails and phone numbers, and guys, it's on like it's King Kong. The Mordian 50 Rifles will be engaging Winter's SEO on the field of battle in late September of this year. I'm not going to give out the exact date just yet because, we're still finalising things. But late September. How exciting is that? We're going to do it, boys. We're going to go and the Iron Guard are going to represent. And we're just going to have a great time. I'm not going to worry about winning or losing or power gaming or anything like that. We're just going to turn up. And the year that I spent on the Great Mordian Restoration Project, clearly the Emperor is smiling down because he's like, you know what, now I'm going to give you a chance to show that army off. And, it's just, all jokes aside, in all seriousness, guys, just to everyone who went and showed their support, to everyone who upvoted the video I did responding to Winter's video, to everyone who went over to Winter's video and left a comment. I think there was 40 comments just in addition to my one. I think all the comments talking about Winter's play SEO. It was like one in every 4 comments was talking about the Mordian Glory channel. And at the end result was that our little channel together, our little community of less than 7,000 subs, all came together and we got the second most highly rated comment on that video. And, we beat Lucian. We beat Chapter Master Valrak. The only person that came ahead of was Midwinter Minis himself, the absolute titan, the absolute unit of a channel. He's the only one that was above us in terms of top comments on that video. Well, at this point, anyway, at the point of recording, I should say. It could all change. But the point is, what I want to say to you guys is everyone who went over there and showed their support, thank you. Truly, truly thank you. It's extremely humbling to just have an amazing community just around the Mordian Glory channel. It really, you guys know I don't like to get too mushy. or anything, you know, with the Iron Guard here, but it truly is. It's really special. So I'll say it again. Just thank you to everyone who went and showed the support, because you have made real change. We've made change. The Mordian Glory channel is going places, boys. We're going to show all these Marine boys. We're going to show all these people that, you know, the Imperial Guard, they are the true heroes of the Emperor. And, of course, I want to say thank you to Winsessio, because, you know, this is only a small corner of the internet, and, you know, he still reached out and said, you know, come on, let's make this happen. So, thank you to Winters for being an absolute legend as well. And yeah, I look forward to the battle. We're gonna, like I said, guys, we'll hash out the details and we'll give you some more details on as it's coming up. But it's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. So, whew, I'm like a giddy schoolgirl getting to meet my internet celebrity person. It's just awesome. It's really cool. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, exciting news, but, you know, this is Mordian Mondays, so not only are we going to talk about exciting, cool YouTube stuff, we're going to talk about some exciting and awesome hobby stuff as well. One last thing I will say before we move on to today's hobby section is that it will be the Mordian 50th rifles that go to the Winters channel. It will be. And the battle port will obviously be on his channel, because he's the one that's called out, so it's only fair it goes on his channel. But it will be the Mordian 50th Rifles, the Great Mordian Restoration Project. And I'm going to take a really nice army. I'm going to take all my converted Bulgrins and my converted Ogrins and all the, you know, all the first and second platoon. And, you know, we're going to have Commissar Sobel there and everything. And it's just going to be a really nice, proper, fluffy Mordian army with loads of cool conversions and everything, and it's going to be the best I can possibly bring. You know, we're going to have some old school stormtroopers in there. We're just going to show off. We're just going to show off the hard work of the, you know, that went into the Mordian 50 rifles. And what it's really done is it's re-energized me, because I was taking a little break from that project and I've been working on some bolt action, and we'll get into that in a moment. But now I'm like, yeah, back to the Mordian 50 rifle. So I think we're going to get back onto painting some Mordians soon, guys. We've had like a couple of months off the Great Mordian Restoration Project, but I think it will be time to jump back on that very soon. So we'll see how it goes. So there you go, guys. Mordians. It's going to be Iron versus Winter. I think that'd be such a cool name. Iron versus Winter. That'd be so cool. Anyway. Hope you guys are excited. Make sure you leave lots of comments about how excited you are down below. I will read and like and answer as many of them as I can. I've been pretty good. I've got back to every comment. On the last 5 videos I put up, I think I've replied to every single one. At the very least, I put like a like on a couple that I couldn't reply to because it was just like a 1 or 2 words that I've commented. I've just put like a little like or something. Anyway, hobby stuff, cool stuff, other stuff, bolt action stuff. The recruitment for the Imperial Japanese Army continues, and as you guys can see, I've paid up another 5 bolt action bozos this week, and it's another 5 riflemen with my Arasaka rifles, Type 38s, and yeah, it was really fun. Now these guys, again, I just went for, so now I'm up to 20 infantry now, which in 40k 20 infantry is like, so you know, that's like 1 squad. In bolt action, 20 infantry is a big deal. Like 20 infantry is, some armies at 1,000 points, which is the equivalent of 2,000 points in bolt action in 40k. Only take 20 infantry. That's as many as they have. Maybe 30 at the top. So we've got a pretty decent amount. Japanese, they do like a little bit more infantry because they're a very infantry focused faction. That's why I picked them, because I just love painting hordes. And so I probably need about 40 infantry minimum. And I mean, I'm planning on getting some Japanese tanks. I want to get the absolute meme unit, the Hargo tank. If you don't know about anything about the Hargo, go and research it. It's a total meme tank. It was obsolete it was obsolete before World War II broke out, and the Japanese just insisted on just still using it, and they produced loads of them right up until the end of the war. And it was like it couldn't do it couldn't do anything. It was a terrible tank. But the Japanese, they stuck with it. which was unusual because they did a lot of like they were very inventive a lot of the time, but then when they got something and they got it out into the field, they kind of just stuck with it no matter what. So interesting bit of like trivia there. I mean, they were really, really industrious actually. They went through a bunch of light machine guns, which is what I'll be painting next week, guys. I should have a bunch of light machine guns to be painted up next week. But yeah, but with a lot of their armor, they just did not see the value in armor, the Japanese, and which is crazy to a lot of people. Like, how can you not see the value of the tank? But when I've been doing like my research into it and trying to understand why the Japanese didn't really cotton on to why armor was good and why they didn't see the value in giving their soldiers SMGs, they saw no value in a soldier being able to fire multiple shots rapidly. It never crossed their mind, and they saw very little value in their tanks. And as I said before, like other bot action, like Mordian Mondays, I've like, why? One of the great things about this hobby, about bot action, is it makes you want to go and research. Like, and you also have to remind yourself, especially when you're coming from a 40k perspective, like this lore that you're reading, it's not lore, it's history. It happened. There's reasons behind it. And one of the sort of the prevailing thoughts is, why did the Japanese not really see the value in an SMG and not really see the value in armor? Is because they hadn't really had a hugely active role in World War One, which a lot of the Western powers had. So they had fought in World War One. They had, I think they took the port of Tsingtao off the Germans in World War One. But that was a relatively isolated German force off in East Asia, versus the might of pretty much at that point the cream of the Japanese army. So I think like 20,000 Japanese took on like just a few hundred Germans and just won through sheer numbers. And that was they did other bits, but that was sort of the main battle that the Japanese did. And then they also in the interwar period they kicked the Russians' bums. In the siege of Port Arthur, but that was again just a very short battle between the Japanese and the Russians that were in East Asia were not the best forces going, not ideal. So I think that was that in 1905. I think that was actually before World War One. But anyway, the point is that they hadn't done a huge amount of what was then modern warfare. So they hadn't had the experience that the other armies had had. So, if you look at the attitudes of European World War One powers before World War One, they were like, all you need is the guy with the rifle. People weren't even convinced by things like machine guns. They were like, you just need rifles, and it's all about the fighting spirit of the men. And the Japanese, but in World War One, the Western powers learned that a dude with a rifle, no matter how brave he is still just going to get mown down by machine guns, and tanks are actually really important for breaking through static warfare. They're really valuable tools. But the Japanese didn't really learn those lessons, and so what some historians sort of hypothesize is that they were essentially fighting a war behind. They had some armor because they were sort of exposed to it sort of via osmosis, just via culture spreading around the world. But at the end, going into the war, the way their whole fighting spirit was built around, it was the fighting spirit of the individual soldier. That was the most important thing. And firepower and technological advancements were not as important as fighting spirit of men. And you can see that in the way the Japanese fought in World War II. You can see that. They were all about just, death before dishonor. They were all about the fighting spirit. Esprit de corps, they're all about that kind of stuff, which is interesting. Now I don't know if that's true. It's just a little, there are a lot of historians argue about these kind of things. If you really want to know why the Japanese army seems to do so badly a lot of the time, you should go and look at the rivalry between the Imperial Japanese Army and the Japanese Navy. They hated each other, and the Navy was in charge at the time, and so the army got the butt end of the budget. So yeah, loads of really interesting stuff. But I know we're having a bit of a history lesson here today, aren't we, guys? But this is what Mordian Mondays are all about. It's just a free for all, just chatting shit basically, just having a good time. So interesting stuff. But this is what I love about bot action. This is what I would really recommend to anyone thinking of getting into the hobby. dive in, because there's, if you're like, oh, well, will it have as much lore as 40k? It's got more. All the individual little skirmishes, little battles, all these things were recorded. There's loads of little instances of just insane stuff that went on. There's loads of really famous big battles. There's loads of lesser known but equally as important small battles, and the lore is just incredible. In terms, it has some of the brightest moments and some of the darkest moments. So, you think there's grim dark stuff in 40k. There's a lot more grim dark stuff that took place in World War II, but we're not really appropriate to get into it now, is it? But the point is that what is so good about bolt action is that it prompts you to go and learn. It's crazy. I'm a sponge for learning stuff, but it's absolutely crazy. It's a really good hobby. So there we go, guys. Little bit of bolt action. So 5 more guys. I know we didn't talk too much about the hobby here, but this is sort of the second or third video we've done just talking about painting basic riflemen, so I won't go too much into it there. What do I have left in terms of my bolt action? Well, in terms of my initial purchases, I have 10 infantry left, and that will complete my box of initial 30 that I have. And then I have to paint up some support, so I've got to paint up an anti-tank gun, a medium anti-tank gun, and an anti-tank rifle team, and a couple of suicide anti-tank guys, because historically the Japanese struggled against late war American armour, so they had to resort to some really dodgy tactics, like they dig holes in roads and cover them up, and a guy would sit in there with a hammer and an anti-tank mine basically, and wait for a tank to drive over, and then he'd blow it up with himself. Just mad stuff, absolutely mad. When you get to that point, you really should probably just start surrendering. And then what else I have to build, and you can take those guys in bolt action, which is the crazy thing about it. You can take those bozos, which is just mad. There's rules for them. And what else I have to take is I've got a little Type 92 7mm gun, which is like a little micro artillery piece, and then I have a 81mm medium mortar, which is a bit like, in terms of 40k, it's a bit like just a heavy mortar. It's not as powerful it's not as light as a regular mortar. It's not as big as like a thud gun. It's like a standard heavy mortar. And then I've got some characters. I've got an officer with a little Nambo pistol, an officer with an umbrella, because you've got to have an umbrella, obviously. And then I've got like a medic and an officer charging and a guy with a radio. So yeah, I've just got 5 or 6 officer characters, officers and advisors. So there we go, not too bad. Basically got 10 infantry and then my support teams, and we're going to have a great, and that'll be a big chunk of my bolt action painted. And then I need to get 1 armoured car, which I've actually got as well, 1 light tank, 1 medium tank, and maybe 10 veteran infantry, and that'll be 1,000 points. And my overall army will be like 50 men, 2 vehicles, and some support teams. 40 men, 2 vehicles, 2 to 3 vehicles, and some support teams. So it's not a big army. I've said it once, said it again. Bolt action is super accessible to get into. I'm looking to finish my Japanese off bit by bit, and then I'm looking to finish the secret project off. So I'll keep hinting at the secret project. The secret project's almost here, guys. It's amazing. The secret project is me learning to use contrast paints. So there is a secret project on the way. And that'll be done very soon. All the models for that are here now. And so, lots of exciting stuff. It's a time of great change for the Mordian Glory channel. Change, maybe not. A time of great progress. And it's all possible. All possible thanks to the just absolutely amazing supporters that I have. We are going to have bolt action battle reports. I've got Lord of the Rings battle reports, just little niche ones. Don't worry, guys, they'll just be popping up little once a month here, once a month there. Nothing big. I probably actually would do them in addition. So you might get like a regular tactics video and then a little bolt action battle report, because I don't want to disrupt the 40k flow that you guys all love. So we've got bolt action on the way. We've got Lord of the Rings on the way. We've got the secret project on the way. The Krieg arrived already, and then we have the Great Mordian Restoration Project, which needs to be, needs to kick back up again. We've got loads going, and it's all possible due to the amazing support of my viewers and my Patreon supporters, and it's all happening, guys. So this is the place to be. this Morning Glory channel is the place to be. Just want to, it's very exciting. Very, very exciting times. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you are super stoked for the Winter's SEO showdown. Mordians versus whatever it may be. I'd like to do... You know what would be cool? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you've made it this far, let me know down in the comment section below. Do you want to see Mordian 50s rifles take on Winter's High Fleet Kraken or his Orcs? I think those two are could take on the 13th. That would be pretty cool. But Marines are very powerful at the moment. Or do we want to maybe take on the Penitent Forge? But I think, a classic guard matchup. My preference would be for a classic guard matchup. So, Mordian 50s Rifles versus Murphy's War or High Fleet Kraken. One of those two would be amazing. I would love it. So, let me know what you guys think. Please leave lots of comments down below. I hope you're excited for more bolt action. I hope you're excited for the future of the Morning Glory channel. Thank you for watching. And, of course, I'll see you guys next time.